So when you were taught that needing help meant you were weak, your signal learned to be silent, even if it was screaming. When you were told to be realistic, your signal traded wonder for certainty and lost its magic in the process. When sacrifice meant when success meant self-sacrifice, your signal kept giving until there was nothing left to give. When emotions were unsafe to express, your signal stored its truth in the body, and we called it anxiety. When being calm kept the peace, your signal dimmed its fire, avoiding to burn down the room. When every achievement had been earned through pain, your signal stopped trusting ease and started chasing exhaustion. When being different meant being alone, your signal started blending in, even if it meant fading out. When intuition was dimmed as nonsense, your signal buried its knowing and called it second guessing. When others' needs always came first, your signal confused love with self-abandonment. And when your brilliance made others uncomfortable, your signal tried to shrink so others could be big. Your signal didn't leave, it got buried. Buried under survival, buried under performance, under praise for being productive instead of present, under a system that said fit in before you were old enough to ask, fit into what? Under systems that said fit in before you were old enough to ask, fit into what? It got covered by stories not yours, expectations not yours, identities you wore because they worked, even if they didn't fit. That's how it happened. Your signal didn't disappear. It got masked by what was required to stay safe, to succeed, to be seen. Let's name it fully. When you were praised for being strong, your signal learned to hide its softness. When you were rewarded for getting results, your signal surrendered its rhythm. When you were shamed for being too much or not enough, your signal shrank to survive. You didn't lose it, you adapted. And your brilliance you adapted perfectly. But adaptation is an alignment. And now the very strategies that helped you rise are the ones that are keeping you from being home. So why does this matter? Because your signal was powerful enough to survive all that noise. It's more powerful than you ever could imagine to carry you back home. You don't need to find it like it's missing. You need to tune to it, a frequency that's always been playing under the static, under the noise. The question isn't where did it go? The real question is, are you ready to stop outsourcing your worth and start listening again? Because the moment you do, your life doesn't just improve, it begins to resonate. What does it mean? What is signal? Why should I find it? Why has no one ever told me about this? All the greats, if it's really that important, they would have made me find my signal years ago, right? There it is, the sacred hesitation. The objection that isn't said out loud because it's deeper than logic. It's an ache beneath your armor. So let's answer not with explanation, with resonance. What is signal? Your signal is not a feeling. It's not a role. It's not a skill set. It's an energetic signature of who you are when you're not trying to be anything. It's the quiet clarity beneath all the noise. The part of you that never had to be taught, only remembered. Doesn't shout, it hums. It doesn't rush, it guides. It doesn't demand, it knows. Your signal is the frequency of your truest self. Before the world told you to perform, before you were rewarded for being useful instead of aligned. Why didn't anyone teach you this before? Because they couldn't. Not your mentors, not your teachers, not even the greats you studied. They may have found their own signal, yet they didn't know how to language it for someone else. Because signal isn't something that can be taught. It must be tuned to. And most people never slow down long enough to hear their own signal. So no, they didn't hide it from you. They just didn't have the tools to point it out, to point you toward it, to show you how to listen for it. And deep down, you've always felt this, a tug, a pull, something inside saying, I know how to do a lot of things, yet something still doesn't feel like me. I know how to do a lot of things, yet something just doesn't feel right, doesn't feel like me. That's your signal, trying to reach you, not a concept, a homecoming. So why find it now? Because all the success you've built on top of this dissonance will eventually collapse, not as a punishment, as invitation. When you lead from your signal, you stop chasing alignment and start radiating it. You stop managing your energy and start amplifying it. You stop asking, what should I do? And start knowing what's yours to do. You stop asking, what should I do? And you start knowing what's yours to do. For the unspoken resistance, you don't need another system, another guru, another layer to perform. You don't need anything. What you do need is subtraction. Not self-improvement, self-remembrance. You've already tried their way. Now it's time to try yours. Your signal has been waiting. This is your permission to finally listen. Listen to what it is. Listen to who you are. Listen to why you want this to be yours. That's your signal. In your quiet moments where you feel desperation, that's your signal. You're not desperate. You're truly seeking who you are. You know all of these things you do, they're a part of you. They're not the core of you. So the question then becomes, when do you want to find your signal? When do you want to lock in to that thing that's effortless in you? When do you want to give up all of your strategy so you can find your strength? Oh, there's still work to do. It's just doing it in a certain way. Instead of what should I do? What happens if you have a knowing of what it is for you to do? What are you supposed to do today? What does today mean to you? Is it more stuff? Is it more boxes to check? Your signal isn't rejection. That's an outward mask somebody told you to wear. Your signal isn't success. That's an outward mask somebody said, we'll recognize you for success. We'll avoid you for failure. These are all stories that are told around something other than your signal. And the challenge is we're trying to match, we're trying to connect to someone else's signal, to inspire them, to motivate them, to give them hope, to show them possibility. And they were told they're not allowed to live from their signal either. That's why we have dreams. Our dreams are our signal. A dream is a signal you have more inside of you. Your purpose, your mission, your desire, your want, the things you want to do, that's your signal screaming to you. You have the skills. You have the talent. You have the capability. You have the capacity. That is your signal confirming to you, you have this opportunity, this potential, this unlimitlessness. You have this unbelievable chance to all become more. That is your signal. And as soon as we start venturing down there, as soon as we start listening to that signal, we get rejection. It's not our signal rejecting us. It's our story saying, you're not ready for your signal. You're not strong enough. You haven't worked hard enough. You haven't lived long enough. You're not tall enough. You're not short enough. You're not blonde enough. You're not brunette enough. You're not redhead enough. We have all of these not enoughs, and your signal is still there. Your signal hasn't changed. You were never meant to be tall enough. You were meant to be you. You were never meant to be blonde enough. You were meant to be you. You were never meant to be redhead. You were just you. You were never meant to be a public speaker. You were just you. And when that starts to resonate, it's not about doing one more thing. It's about being the thing you are the only one can be. That's your signal. That's your do things in a certain way. That is where your desire comes from. That is where you can work 20 hours a day and not be tired. It's where you can wake up energetic, joyful, and not be stressed. It's where things start to flow into you. It's where things start to find you. It's where things start to, oh my gosh, you won't believe what happened. It worked so well. It's amazing. It was incredible. It was so effortless. Think about the moment you had the most joy. How much effort was in it? In the moment of joy. Oh, there might have been a lot of chipping away to get to that moment. In the moment, to travel to go see a sunset on an ocean you've never been to before. It probably took a train, a plane, a bus, and a car, and an overnight stay. Yet in the moment of the sunset, at that moment when the sun turns green at the very, as it goes under the horizon, it was effortless. What happened to an effortless life? With all of the work and all of the trials and all of the efforts and all of the doing and all of the understanding, what happened to the effortless life? I don't like this. Of course you like it. Somebody told you to not like it. I don't want that. Of course you want that. Somebody told you to not want that. Well, I don't do those things. Of course you do those things. Somebody told you that if you don't like it, you get to stand out in the crowd. You get to be different. It's called pain. It's called significance. And if your life is in significance and certainty, you're going to be in pain, period. Doesn't matter what it is, a religious belief, a monetary belief, a cultural belief. If you have certainty and significance, if that's what you seek, your life will be in pain. There's nothing no one could do about it. Because it's your significance. It's your certainty. Well, if I give that up, you're coming home to your signal. So many people have identified us, have labeled us of who we are and how we are. We wouldn't recognize ourselves if we didn't show up that way. We wouldn't recognize ourselves. People say, have you lost your mind? What they're really saying is I've lost this signal you're putting out. And usually when you find your signal and you're doing what you love, people will say, I've lost your signal. You'll hear, have you lost your mind? What they're saying is I've lost your signal. You had a predictable signal. You had a predictable way. I knew you were going to be happy or sad or mad or frustrated. I could predict who you are. When you become unpredictable to those around you, you're probably close to living your signal. You get mad, upset, and you go irate. You're not who you normally are. You're a little upset right now. You're a little mad. Why don't you go take a break? Because you're not living your signal that everybody's comfortable with. You learned how to hide your signal before you knew what your signal was. It's called shame. You were taught shame before you ever had a chance to live your signal. So what do you do about this? It's called deep self-introspection. The challenge is you won't, it's tough. It takes a handful of work to find your signal. Why? Because you have to give up an identity that was never yours, but you own. Imagine paying for the rent on your neighbor's house. You pay the rent, you pay for the maintenance, you pay for all of the upkeep, and you never get to live there. That's what you're doing right now. You're paying this to rent this identity that's not yours. You never get to live in your original signal. You never get to live in your original home, your original state. Oh, you've been there a couple of times. You've visited it. You've gone there on vacation. Literally, it was a vacation because when you were in signal, life seemed easier. It got amazing. Oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe it. I've had more happen in the last 2 days than I have in the last 2 months. That's you living in your signal. And then somebody said, wow, you're lucky. And because that feeling, when somebody tells us we're lucky, which means they're not, we shrink, we hide, we fade, and we give up. We give up our signal. We don't turn it off. We just stop turning into it. We stop listening to it because we don't know how to make them feel comfortable because we were told, be nice, be kind. You want to be disappointed. That's your gift, not mine. You want to be jealous? That's your gift, not mine. You want to suffer through life? That's your gift, not mine. You want to struggle? That's your gift, not mine. You want to praise me? That's your gift, not mine. You want to tell me how amazing I am? That's your gift, not mine. We're told all the time, don't worry about what people say. Be strong, be tough, be tuned in. Don't worry, don't listen to the negative, to the naysayers. If that's true, this is also true. Don't listen to the positive praisers. Be independent of the good opinion of other people. Maslow was onto something. Find your signal. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. Adapt to your signal, and the way you look at everything changes instantly. It's not about doing certain things. It's about doing them in your signal. It's time to find your signal. What do? You have to know what signal you're giving out right now. You got to know, where are you vibrating from? What are you doing right now? Because your signal changes. Your core signal doesn't. Your signal could be a visionary. There's times where you dream and you inspire people to see beyond. There's times where you're a catalyst, where you fire up the troops and you get people going and you get people motivated and you lead from the front of the room. You're a catalyst. What signal are you at right now? And the challenge is that we could be operating in one signal and think we're in another. Your signal is important. What signal do you want to be? What signal do you think you are? And then deep, 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 deep down inside, what does your core tell you? I can promise you, when you find your signal, you'll give up a lot of stuff. You always do. We always give up a lot of stuff. You've given up a lot of stuff to be in this frequency, to be in this vibration that doesn't make any sense. That's my conversation with you this morning. Questions, thoughts, comments, takeaways?
Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Selka.
How are you?
Outstanding.
Okay, so since you're so outstanding, I'm sure you found your signal this morning.
I'm still chipping away. There's a lot uncovering. I'm getting much closer to my signal, that's for sure.
So, how do I find my signal? That's my question for you this morning.
So what's
Me specifically.
right. So what's the reason for everything?
That's an interesting question.
For you, not for anybody else. Why you woke up this morning to do what? What's the purpose?
To come here, to come to this I can't even sing, to the Zoom, to come to the Zoom with you.
Okay.
Otherwise, I wouldn't wake up at 3 in the morning.
Okay, so you woke up at 3 in the morning to come to a Zoom for what?
To learn.
Okay.
To change. Okay. Wow, it's difficult for me to think this morning. I don't even know why. To I can't think.
Okay. So if you got up to learn, was the learning, what's the benefit of learning?
To make changes.
Okay.
To become better.
Okay.
In things you feel you you need to get better. I feel that you learn daily.
Yes.
Not just not just from like special learning, but even just from living your life.
Right.
And talking to other people and asking questions.
So we learn for changes. We learn to be able to change.
Yes.
The next change you experience, what do you want it to do for you? When you go through the next series of change, whether it be in the next 5 minutes or 5 hours or 5 days, when you go through a series of change, and change happens at different depths and levels, when you go through the next change awareness, you learn something, you have a choice, and then you can change. What do you want the next change to do for you?
The next change that that I'm wildly successful in everything I do.
Excellent. So now we've added a variable. We've added the term success, and we'll get to wildly in just a moment. What does success look like?
Success to me looks like making a lot of money.
Okay. And what does the feeling of a lot of money bring you? What is it? A lot of money brings you what feeling?
What feeling? Calmness,
Okay.
accomplishment, being able to do the things I want to do without thinking about it. Just, hey, you want to go there, you want to go there, wherever, and you just pick up and you go. You don't have to think whether you have the money or whether this is a good time. You can just do it because
Okay.
you are just in the state to be able to do it, to pay off all my bills, to have, to not have um to feel free.
Okay. So learning offers you choice. Choice offers you opportunities, offers you decisions, and decisions give you results that produce what you want to produce success. And success is to have the ability to do what you want, when you want, where you want, with who you want, for however long you want.
Yes.
So, do you have that now?
No.
So then would it be fair to say that your learning hasn't brought you any change? Up to this moment, not ever, going forward from this moment on, it's going to be all change, all
Right.
failure,
Yeah,
all
it
success.
hasn't exactly. It has not brought me the change that I was looking to
So
have.
would it be
Yes,
possible
you're right.
that your signal exists in something you think you don't want to do? Is it possible? Not saying,
Yes.
okay. So then the learning, your learning that you're experiencing, that you're desiring, is wanting to, is inviting you to find your signal. Your current knowledge of what I want to do and what I don't want to do is keeping you from finding your signal. I don't want to do that. Maybe your signal is in that, because it's definitely not here. Wherever this is, wherever here is, wherever this moment is, you do not have your signal. You are not successful. Now add wildly to that. That's a whole nother thing. You have a wild signal inside of you. Otherwise, you wouldn't describe success that way. This is how, seriously, this is how we know it's there. We use this expressive thing we call language, right? You express it differently in English than in German. German has a different signal, has a different frequency. Spanish, there's Spain Spanish and Mexican Spanish. It's more a love language, and it's an Italian and all of this, it's musical. Not so much in German, but most people can say that sounds like a Germanic language because the frequency it sounds. So right now, Silke has a signal that she's taking all this learning, having all these options, and refusing to find your signal, because you're smart enough to find your signal. And I can promise you, where you will find your signal is in the thing that you don't want to do. Until Bob Proctor said it best, do the thing you have to do until you don't have to do it anymore. Do it till you, because you have to, and then do it till you don't have to. That's where our signal is just beyond that. Will Smith says, everything you want is beyond your fear zone. You've gone skydiving.
Yes.
When you're in the plane and you're going up and you're hooked up to the other person and you're at the edge, it's not like, oh my gosh, this is just like reading a peaceful, beautiful piece of poetry. It's scared crapless.
I wasn't scared.
Well, that's a signal you think you have. Your body is absolutely scared. You have tell yourself so that you can be brave and so that you can be different, because everybody is scared when they go out of that. Your brain could not keep you from being scared. You've just pushed it down in so many places that well, I wasn't scared. Really? That gets people to draw attention to you. Your brain was scared. That is not a normal thing to be. Now,
But
you
maybe
might
I'm
have
not
been,
normal.
well, you are normal. You got a brain, you understand, you got a heartbeat, you're not an alien. So, unless you are you an alien?
Well, I don't know. You should
Okay.
just bringing it up. No, of course I'm
Okay.
not. But it's funny that you would bring this up.
Well,
We don't know.
just curious. So
Well,
all of that
you
to
have
be,
actually met me, so
yeah. Well, and I again, but I don't know, body snatcher. Maybe you snatched up a beautiful hot blonde and you have this great German accent. I don't know.
yeah, maybe. Hey, you just never know. But then I would be wildly successful because
Well,
then I could do myself. I could force myself to do the things.
so if you had to force yourself to do something, what do you think you have to force yourself to do? What do you think is the one thing that if I know I don't even want to do that. I don't want that, but if I forced myself, I probably would have a better result. Can you think of one thing that if you had to like, have you ever been so sick somebody says you should go throw up because it'll make you feel better and you're like, I don't even want to do that.
No, but I know what you're talking about.
Yes. So what
But what do I don't want to do?
yeah.
I don't want to do the things that are boring, like
And so who told you that wild success doesn't have boring things to do? Somebody told you that. I don't want to do boring. I can be wildly successful without doing boring.
no, I know I cannot be widely
Okay.
successful
Well,
without
this is
being the,
awesome.
but I
Listen to
don't,
that. That's awesome awareness.
I
So
know
how
that, but I still try to do it
okay, so
because I don't like boring.
okay,
I just, I don't know why. I don't like the monotone things that come with that. I mean,
okay,
I can get on 10 Zooms and just talk to people. That would be fine with me. But doing all the other things that I need to do, I I dropped the ball.
okay. So um have you ever had a puppy? I mean a puppy like day old puppy, 2 day old puppy. You ever have any puppies born or did you always get them?
No, no, the youngest puppy we had was 6 weeks old. No,
Okay, okay, so 6 weeks old.
I
Um,
I've never seen a puppy being born. No.
okay, so a 6 week old puppy. Do they know how to be a dog or are they a puppy?
Well, they are a puppy.
Right. So, and why do we put up with them chewing our shoes or peeing on the floor or doing all of those things? Why do we put up with that stuff? The boring stuff of having to clean up after a puppy.
Because they're so cute.
How do we make
And they haven't learned yet. I mean, with a puppy, it is up to us to teach them so that they know that they don't pee on the floor. We have to take them out every 30 minutes so they learn, oh, I have to pee outside.
isn't that boring?
Well,
Knowing every
yes,
30 minutes you got to wake up and do that. You got to feed them. You got to do all this stuff. It's boring.
well, it doesn't get up in the middle of the night.
Right.
It at least sleeps then, but
Right.
it's like a baby. I
Right.
mean, a puppy is
Why would
literally like a
anybody take
baby.
care of a baby?
What?
Why would anybody ever take care of a baby?
Yeah, I ask myself that too. Because people want to grow their family,
So if
just
you want
like
to,
you with your sheep.
exactly. If you want to grow your wild success, you're going to have to do the boring stuff. You got to change the way you look at it. That's your signal. Your signal says, I know the boring stuff is there. I can make boring stuff fun. I teach grammar. I teach German grammar, the same thing. The grammar hasn't changed in 20 years.
But it's not boring. Well, at
Why?
least not for
Why?
because it's not boring for the people I teach it to.
It's absolutely boring. I got
No, because
teachers.
it
No,
no.
listen. You are taking their energy and think it's not boring to them. It's the most boring thing on the world, grammar.
Well, not
It's
German
the
grammar,
yeah,
because you can't do it automatically. You have to think every time you do it. So it's different.
okay. So you got to
It
think.
engages your brain because it's not a lot of things change, like endings change, articles change, depending if something is a
But there's
direct
rules. There's
object in.
rules, right?
Well, yes,
There's
there's
a lot of
many
rules,
rules.
and this could change for that, but there's a rule that changes because of that.
Yeah, and it's very
Yeah.
important that you know the rule, otherwise you cannot duplicate. It's not like English where everything is always the same. So yes, I don't know. Nobody's ever told me that the grammar is boring
It's always
because so
boring.
much
There's nothing
changes.
about grammar is ever fun. Nobody has fun with grammar.
I like the grammar,
Okay, so
the
then let's
Germ,
let's
the
make the
German
action
grammar.
steps. Let's make the action steps you need to go do that are boring to grow your wild success. Convert it to your German grammar. This is like what I don't know. I got to make 5 phone calls today. That's just like practicing my grammar. If you don't do the
Well,
boring
I
things,
don't
you'll
have a
never have the
problem making the
success.
phone calls. I just have a problem sitting there and putting things together and
Well, if you're
like,
making the phone calls and it's producing stuff, the things you're putting together is called success. You want the roses without planting the seeds. You got to plant the seeds. You got
yes.
to till the soil. Jim Rohn says there's a season for everything. Summer follows spring, fall follows summer, winter follows fall. You're in a season right now. And you've got to decide, okay, if I start planting now, the harvest isn't going to be for a week, a day, a year. You've got to go do it so you don't ever have to do it again. And that's where your struggle is. That's where everybody's struggle is. I don't want
But
to do the
I think
boring.
I've been planting the seeds for way
Yeah,
too
but you
long.
but you've not been taking care of them. Look, and again, this is the hard part. Look at your harvest right now. You got no seeds. You took care of. I could plant all of the tomatoes and all of the pumpkins and all of the things out there, and if I don't water them and if I don't keep the weeds out, when harvest comes, I worked so hard planting that. No, you never took care of the seed. You never took care of your garden. Yeah, I did. I kind of watered it. Really? Where's your hose? Well, I mean, when it rained, it got watered. Hasn't rained in 3 weeks. Well, yeah, but I did the work. I planted the seeds, and I do that every year. I plant the seeds every year, and the garden's empty. Got to take care of the garden. And that's the boring stuff. I don't want to weed. I want beans. So I weed around my beans, and I don't pull the weed. I don't pull the beans. I wait till they grow up. When the tomatoes pop up, I don't pull them up going, where are the tomatoes? They're seeds, they're seedlings. They got to grow. They'll produce a harvest. Everything we do produces a harvest. Everything we do every single thing we do produces a harvest. Now, whether it's edible or whether it's profitable, that's to be determined in the future. And right now we are sitting in our harvest. So here's what I will tell you. Your harvest is 90 days away. That's why they have a 90-day run in network marketing. Let's go do a 90-day run. If you did the work, the boring work that's not boring for the next 90 days, you wouldn't recognize your business consistently. I don't care if it's 5 days a week, 3 days a week,
We've
7
done
days
that
a week.
before.
No,
And
you
most
haven't.
people stop way before the 90 days.
Well, then you haven't done a 90-day program. It's that simple. Well, I said we're going to do, it's like if I wanted to do a hard 70 or whatever that thing is, I'm going to do a hard
75, I think.
whatever.
Yeah,
Okay,
see people.
75 hard.
Yes.
That'd be ridiculous because I probably wouldn't. I'd do a 3-day hard. I probably wouldn't do a 70-day hard because I'm already doing a 70-day hard. I've done a 180-day hard here on the ranch. Why do I need to go do a 70-day, 75-day hard? It's ridiculous.
Because
But
it
there's
forces people to be accountable. Because usually, yes, I mean, it's good to have an accountability partner.
right. So decide if what you want to get done, have an accountability partner, then go do the work because you're not going to get around it. There's no way to get around it. You can get lucky. You can play the lottery. There's a good chance that there's a better chance of getting hit by lightning than winning the lottery.
Yeah, especially if I come to Arkansas.
Exactly. So you've got to decide. So you got to lay out a plan. What's the boring work? What's the work I know needs to get done? And then ask, why is this boring? It's boring because you're not getting the results. And you're not getting the results because you're showing up going, I'm just checking boxes. I did my 5 calls. I did my 10 Zooms. I don't want to, but how do I get, because you're showing up with your signal not in place. You're showing up with a frequency, a vibration that says, this is boring. Who wants to be around somebody who's boring? I mean, seriously, you don't want to be around boring people.
No.
And if you go do the basic work and you have this, this is boring, that's a vibration you give off. I don't care how big of a smile you put on your face or how much makeup or eyeliner or lipstick, or if I put on a suit and a tie, wow, he's sharp. He's kind of boring. If I have a boring frequency, that comes across. It's called signal. So that's where your work needs to be adjusted. That's where you have a chance for tremendous improvement. Because look what you've been able to do by thinking things are boring. Imagine if you just said, okay, I'm going to change the way I look at things. So the things I look at change, and I'm going to test it for a week, and I'm going to be wildly positive for a week. I'm going to do the things I haven't done before. I'm going to try things I've not tried before, going, oh, curious, let's see how that works. Now, I tried that. It doesn't work. That keeps you stuck. That's called significance. I know that. Significance. If you say, I know that, that's significance. And certainty, that doesn't work. You're going to be in pain. It doesn't matter. It's a doctor who doesn't want to learn the new procedure. He'll be out of business. Look at Blockbuster. We all hear the story about Blockbuster. They were certain digital wasn't going anywhere, and they were significant because they were the big kid on the block. They went out of business in a year. Biggest video thing everywhere. Everybody gone. Gone. Not just, I mean, the shelves they had the tapes on, sold, gone. Because they thought, no, that's not going to work. That's significance and certainty. They went out of business because of significance and certainty. So decide.
Yes, they did not pivot.
They did not pivot. So you've got to pivot.
Well, it's the same thing with the telephone booth. Remember, we used to have telephone booths. Then came the cell phones, and I don't see any more telephone booths. So things, yes, when you're looking at things, I mean, most people, most young people don't even know what a cassette tape is.
Right.
I was just talking to someone, and I remember who it was, that like in the olden days, I remember I met this lady that was in Amway, and she was giving out tapes for people to listen to.
I started with tapes.
You did?
I started with cassette tapes for probably 5 months, and then they had CDs.
Oh, yeah, no. She was giving out the cassette tapes, yes. Yep. And she had to buy them from the company.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, so that's where Amway made a lot of money. Is you had to be a double diamond to be able to do your own products. And once you were a double diamond, you could create your own cassette tapes and sell them. And that's how they made a lot of their extra money, the top leaders.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yep.
But that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but that's also shifted. I mean, I think the overhead that people had was higher because they had to buy all the stuff. Yep. Now it's all streamed to you. It's all online.
Yeah. So and it's so easy that nobody has there's no value in it to new people. We know there's tremendous value in our videos and in our trainings and our this, but when you can get it to somebody for free, I'll email you. Oh, okay, click. Oh yeah, I didn't. It's not for me. Did you listen to it? Yeah, I listened. No, you didn't. Because if you listened to it, you'd have said yes. But that's if it's so if it's free, if it's easy to do. It's also easy not to do. So you've got to decide I'm going to make it fun. Every time I get it, and I know it's Lola Bean, but every time I do the boring thing, I'll pet Lola Poo.
Yes, she just got a nice grooming and she smells really good.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, you take care of Lola Poo, Lola Bean.
Lola Bean, it just makes me very happy. But she, all she ever wants